Om Vasudev Sutam Devam Kansacha Nuramardhanam Devki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagat Gurum. Om. Relations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, verse number 54. This is the climax aspect of the teachings of the Gita. Who is the perfected person? Called Sthita Prajna, to have insight into the perfection that the soul must attain. And previously, Lord Krishna pointed out that in order to attain that perfection, you should be endowed with Sankhya-Buddhi and Yoga-Buddhi. Sankhya-Buddhi is the intellect that grasps. Yoga-Buddhi is the intellect that guides. If you want to be a chariot driver, your senses play the part of horses. Mind plays the part of reins by which the horses are pulled. And intellect is the driver. The intellect must have the knowledge of the goal, where he has to go. As well as he must have the knowledge and the expertise to drive the chariot. The Sankhya-Buddhi is the first type. It consists of the knowledge, immortality of the soul. That's the fundamental, primary knowledge. The soul within you is eternal, immortal, essentially Brahman. Transience of the body, the second point. The body and the all world experience. Body includes your physical body, mind, intellect, senses, ego, your subtle body, your causal body. That body is transient. The third point, unwavering performance of Swadharma. While you are trying to get your intellect gaining insight into who am I, Sankhya-Buddhi, the theoretical insight into the nature of the self. While you do that, at the same time, you must have the skill to drive the chariot. Chariot should not be stagnant in one place. And that implies that you should be busy with your Swadharma, the duties that you have to involve into in day-to-day life. But while doing your Swadharma, your duty, certain points have to be kept in view. Samatha, equanimity of mind. Because what you are looking for in performance of your duties, your projects, what you are looking for is allowing your heart to relax. And in the relaxed heart, a revelation, I am that am I. So you are not counting upon a happening. You do a certain project and it will bring a result. And the result will not be immediate, it will be in future. Until then, you can't be keeping your fingers crossed. You can't be in suspense. But if you have that type of attitude, that was sakamya, soul that is lacking insight into spiritual goal. Spiritual goal is revelation of the self. So in the absence of that insight, the soul cannot distinguish itself from the ego. So whatever is attainment is in the terms of the ego. And the ego cannot imagine any attainment which is not in the world of time and space. So therefore, every project will bring a result. If you sow, if you create a mango grove in Miami, the mangoes will come in Miami. You have to stay there to get the result of what you have done. But until your mangoes have come to grow up and blossom and fruit has developed, until then you have to keep yourself busy, but inwardly saying, one day I'm going to be happy. I'm exaggerating too much. But the idea is that you are dependent upon a happening for your inner fulfillment. That's the effect of ignorance. And that one should correct it day by day. You are not dependent upon what will happen in future. You are what you are. The proof, when you enter into deep sleep, you are not aware of your physical body. You are not aware of your senses, your mind, not aware of all your relationships in the world, father, mother, sister, so forth. You are not even identified with your ego. And you are at your best. Day by day, nature whispers into your ears. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. But until that whisper comes through a spiritual sadhana, then it's no longer a whisper. It's a shrill sound that renders ignorance. And the group of ignorance chills them. So, immortality of the self, transience of the body and the world, and unwavering performance of Swadharma, going on doing your duties. All this is called Sankhya-Buddhi. And Yoga-Buddhi, maintaining equanimity and keeping the mind free of malas, anger, hate, greed, and bringing nishkamata, desirelessness in action. Desireless means you are not giving prominence to the fruit of action, but it has its value. As you do Swadharma, your heart becomes purified. So you have two objectives in performing your duty. One, your jobs are accomplished. Another, inwardly you feel relaxed when you have done your duty the best way you can, especially if you have the spiritual attitude towards it. The inward relaxation, the inward state of peace, that's something perpetual. For that you don't have to depend upon happenings in the world. So much so that having overcome all the obstacles, three great obstacles, mala, gross impurities, of kama, krodha, anger, hate, greed, and all that. And vikshepa, distractions of the mind caused by vasana, subtle desires in the unconscious, keep you always itching at the subconscious level. And avarana, a veil of illusion that has its basis in your causal body. These three impediments are when they are overcome, then you are enlightened. And the experience of deep sleep that you enjoyed, but when you wake up, you are out of it. You don't have that unruffled state. If you attain enlightenment, that state becomes perpetual. Just like you walk out into the open, the state of the sky is perpetual. It's up to you whether to look towards it or not. The sky is always there. Anything you can miss, but not the sky. Sun, moon, stars, clouds, they will come and go. But one thing be sure, the sky is. And that sky is the I am. If that has become your reality, then you are enlightened. When you go to sleep because of pressure of nature, then that's natural. That's not enlightened. It's good for health. But when you are as unruffled as in sleep, without winking, without really dozing off, fully awake, doing all things you have to do, and yet inwardly unruffled, because ego is not involved. This seems difficult for the masses to understand. If ego is not involved, how can I be interested in doing things? The problem comes because you have not watched or studied or gained the insight. Watch people who have achieved immense success in any field. Watch the performers. Watch scientists, whomsoever, wherever there is success. If you are watching a successful person, you realize the person does not have any stress while performing his job. Inwardly, he is completely like dancing, spontaneous. Then the job is at the best. In all performances, there comes a peak. And the peak is when ego drops. And the whole personality is just bringing out an amazing emanation of a divine source within. Therefore, if you study that, you realize constant stress related to ego. The ego brings stress. Will I succeed? Will I not succeed? If I succeed, what will I do? If I don't succeed, what will I do? All this restricts the performance of your action. But as you go on diminishing those things, you become the performer of qualitative actions. Your actions may be very simple. Your job may not be so flamboyant type. They may not look so great. But while doing that, you will be experiencing inner joy. And your inner joy will be like a blossoming flower, wafting fragrance. You never know how far your fragrance reaches and how many are benefited by. Now, coming to the basic point, the theme of Sthita Prajna. Arjuna uvacha Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava Statidhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the characteristics of the sage who is established in samadhi? Samadhi term is easily used, but it has different meanings in different contexts. To majority of people, samadhi means someone who has entered into a trance state. And so, physically, the person will become like a statue, steady, like a painted picture. Inwardly, he will be immersed in a sense of expansion. But that samadhi is not the samadhi that Arjuna is talking about. So that samadhi is helpful, is a means to an end. That type of practice of samadhi goes on helping your mind, your intellect, to undergo change. But when you are enlightened, even though you may not sit in meditation, your body may not be in meditation, may not be still, and yet you are in profound samadhi at all times, a profound state of transcendence, just like I've said already. Even then, you are like in deep sleep. So Arjuna wants to know, how does that enlightened person, how does he speak? How does he walk? How does he sit? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushta sthita prajnastadochyate. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, when a man thoroughly renounces all the desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self, by the self, he is called a man, a person of steady wisdom. Absolute renunciation of desires. 2 points are highlighted. Stripping the mind of all desires and vasanas. Vasanas are subtler form of desires, and desires are more manifest. If you are free of desires, will you be happy? Yes, another point comes in. Will you be contented if desires run away from your mind? For the masses, in order to be contented, you must look for your desires, pet them, keep them alive, and lead them to fulfillment. But when you have fulfilled your desires, there is a kind of happiness. But that happiness is not perpetual, because after fulfilling a desire, you come to realize if you had that fulfillment perpetual, you will be happier. And if there are desires similar to what you have already enjoyed. So let me look for a Google search. And create those desires. So since fulfillment of desire gives a thrill, how thrilling it will be to have more and more desires and go after them. If mind falls for it, mind is ignorant, because Your experience teaches you that desires are not fulfilled simply because you pursue them and enjoy the objects of pleasure. Your mind wants to repeat it again and again and again. It is never fulfilled. Also, it leads you to weakening of will. Same object that gave you a certain degree of enjoyment before, with weak will, it doesn't give you the same enjoyment. You want more in quantity. Just giving you just a little bit of understanding. Krishna na jirna vayameva jirna. Cravings do not decay. Human brain decays, nervous system decays. But the cravings are in your mind. And mind and nervous system are not the same. Mind is like energy flowing through the nervous system. Like electricity flows through the wires. And that mind contains those desires. There is inherent urge in the soul to experience perpetual life, sat, to experience all knowledge, chit, ananda, to be absolutely joyous. The inherent longing of the soul is sat, to realize Satchidananda, absolute existence, absolute awareness, absolute bliss. Until the soul has moved towards that realization, countless desires float in your subconscious. And the soul, instead of turning its attention to realizing, who am I, wherein all desires will dissolve, the soul turns its attention to countless desires. Think of the illustration of the sun up there. And through the clouds, the sun creates countless rainbows. And on the earth planet, countless reflections. So when you are looking from the sun down on the earth, there are two stages, the sun shining bright in the sky. Towards the earth, rainbows, shimmering waters, shining waves, shining dewdrops, countless variations of the sun. A dull-wit mind wants these countless variations. Enlightened mind wants the sun. You choose. Choice is yours. Choosing the sun is called Shreya. Choosing all these illuminations that come and go, that's called Preya. Shreya is the good. Preya is pleasant. So what is pleasant should not delude you. Just simply because certain things are pleasant, that doesn't mean they are good. Now therefore, these 2 points, removing all the vasanas and desires and finding absolute contentment in the self. The realization I am that is equal to fulfilling all desires. Like a river entering the ocean implies all the desires of the river are fulfilled as it has entered the ocean. The innermost self in you is full of bliss, Anandamaya, God within your heart is full of bliss. If you allow your mind and intellect to become focused on God, develop bhakti, devotion to God. Allow your mind to remember God through japa, reflection, remembrance, and allow your intellect to understand God. Then what happens? A mystic presence of God begins to enter into your heart. Like we have opened a window and the light and the breeze are coming into your room. This gives you immense joy, the real joy and the real repose that's described by tripti, contentment. As you enjoy that inner supreme joy, as you move towards that attainment, objects of the world become increasingly tasteless. Vishaya ras, the great taste, delight that you have for the objects, that delight is the miracle of vasana, subtle desires in the mind. To give it a crude illustration, when any part of your body itches, there is a great delight when you scratch. That is, scratching is because of something wrong. That's not a healthy experience. Subtle desires in the unconscious create a subtle itching. And pursuing the objects of desire and finding great joy, each time you are thrilled by an object, you have just scratched the itch. It has given you comfort, but the cause of the itching has not gone away, so it will itch more and more. And you become involved in enjoyment in the terms of nerve titillations, shaking the nerves. A monkey on a tree. Each time it wants to be thrilled, shakes it. All these are very serious matters. Even though easily said, you cannot suddenly move away from nerves, experience through your nerves. And yet there is a divine process by satsanga, japa, etc. You rise beyond. The mind brings to you a kind of joy that you have never had in the world. Infuses in you a kind of strength that you didn't possess before. So therefore, you do not stay with a world where your happiness is like kind of a itching desire, longing, craving, intense expectation, vasanas, subtle pressure from the unconscious. All these need to move away. Then only you can have real peace, nitya tripti, eternal contentment, atma sukh, the bliss of the soul, the bliss of the self. Allowing these worldly desires to move away from the mind and allowing the mind to become increasingly contented with divine presence within. That's the art of moving towards enlightenment. Detach, attach. Detach from the world that gives you a kind of pleasure which is just itching. attach where there is increasing immense peace and joy, God within you. But this again is not a simple task. When you say detach, doesn't mean that you walk away from your house, especially when some responsibility has been given to you. That detach implies doing your duties, doing them well, loving your relatives, loving them well, but allowing your heart to know that to have a deeper relationship, a good quality of relationship, you need to understand God in people. If you view people just in a sentimental way, you are relating yourself to not, 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 not to the person in a deeper level. You're relating yourself to a superficial personality. And that relationship of superficial nature may be comfortable for years, and yet it has no real advantage. On the other hand, while living your life, intent upon, if I am doing service to someone, mother, father, whomsoever, am I doing it well? Am I doing the best? Even if the person whom you are serving shouts at you, insults you, it doesn't affect your mind, because that's the definition of patient. If patient is comfortable, then he's not a patient. Whereas challenging situations should not distract your mind from your duty. Rather, there is a better opportunity for you to recognize God and to understand that no matter how does a patient may cry and shout against a good doctor, the doctor proceeds and does the best for the patient. It's a crude illustration, but it's something easy to understand. Same applies in good relationships. So you are not building up attachment. You're not building up dependence. You are building up an inner joy that I have helped the person to become strong, to become self-dependent, to feel inner joy. Lead people to discover their inner health. Don't leave them to depend upon your shoulders. If you do that, then that second type is sakamya. You're being led by desire. The other one, nishkamya. Your external situation remains the same. You didn't do any big change in your physical movement. Dukkeshvanudvignamana sukeshu vigatispriya vitaragabhaya krodha stitadhir muniraruchyate. He who is not agitated in the midst of sorrowful conditions, who is devoid of craving in the midst of pleasant circumstances, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, such a sage is called a person of steady wisdom. Dukkeshu anudvignamana. That's again is a profound lesson being given to you. Adversities come. When you lose your patience during adversity, you have been defeated by your circumstance, by your condition. When you retain patience with an inner vision that even this will pass away, that you are going to survive, and when you survive, you will be shining better than before. Each time the moon emerges out of a dark cloud, it shines brighter. That should be your mantra. Then you are developing that quality for anudvigna mana, mind that is not agitated. The world is constantly testing you. And if you ask a question, when do I attain victory or when am I defeated? Whenever you see yourself losing the balance of mind and slipping into a state of sentimental irritation, agitation, losing control over yourself, you are being defeated. The enemy is hardly of any strength. Even a little lizard may be around you, getting defeated by it. But you have the potentiality of discovering amazing strength, because strength comes from God within you. And with that revelation of inner strength that is progressive, as you go on discovering it, you find yourself remaining unaffected. You are affected, but you emerge triumphant. The battles will be there, but they are there only to prove your attainment of victory, to highlight your triumph. More intense the battle, better the triumph. So do not be defeated by your circumstances. That's the broad lesson. If you have come to realize that, never to be defeated, then you are a Jivan Mukta, Sthita Prajna. The entire world and all its forces cannot defeat you. This is presented in Sudarkand, in the story of Hanuman, as Hanuman tries to cross over the ocean. God sent a spirit called Surasa. And Surasa opens her mouth, the big demoness, and challenges Hanuman. Surasa says, I'm hungry and I want to eat you up. And ultimately Hanuman tries to persuade her not to eat him up, etc. But she persisted. Hanuman said, all right, open your mouth. She went on opening her mouth bigger and bigger. Hanuman went on increasing his size bigger and bigger, until she became open to enormous cavity of the mouth. Hanuman immediately became a little small, very small creature. Jumped into her mouth, did some somersault, probably some headstands, etc. Came out of her mouth and said, oh mother, that's what you wanted, to enter your mouth, and I did it. And she now changes. She's no longer that ugly spirit, but a divine Devi. He said, God had sent me to test you, and you have passed the test. And the test implies always try to become bigger than the situation. Any adversity is coming, you should be bigger than your adversity. Find out how you can deal with it, and bring inner inspiration and strength to overcome it. But at the same time, have the ability to become very small. Humility. the blend of self-effort that makes you bigger and bigger, and humility, the spiritual agility to allow you to become flexible, bend down as much as you can. Two together, and you can overcome all situations. Brings me another point. In the Mahabharata, Bhishma, the grandfather, he went on giving great advice to King Yudhishthira. At one part of that advice, Yudhishthira had asked, what's that good quality that makes one successful anywhere? What's the secret of success? An amazing victory. And then Bhishma gives a parable that once ocean god asked Ganges, Ganges, a river, flows into the ocean. And the ocean god asks Ganges, how is it? You bring to me big trees, but I'm hungry for salads. Why don't you bring those tender things and tender leaves that grow in abundance by your banks? All the rivers have told me, lot of wonderful things grow by your banks. Why don't you bring any one of them? Ganga Devi said, oh Lord, I try hard. But each time I generate a force to dig them out, they bend down. They become so humble, so relaxed and flexible that all that force goes in vain. But the trees, on the other hand, they go on showing their strength, and they are easily broken. The moral of the story that if you are facing challenging situations, learn the art of bending down. Develop flexibility in your personality. But you are bending down not to something negative, bending down to God within you. But when you want to handle any situation with your ego, you are like a palm tree, developing a rigid neck, and you will be broken down. Another point. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. Raga is attachment. You get attached to things that give you happiness. But there are two points that emanate from that raga. Bhaya and krodha. If you are getting attached to object, is the object, whatever you are getting attached to, is that helpful to you? Or is that object being desired by somebody else? One way or the other, there is a fear. And another point, hardly you have put your hand into a delicious laddus. That the bird comes and snaps it out of your hand. Anger develops. If there is a stone nearby, you throw it at the bird. Raga, bhaya and krodha. Raga is vasanas laden with rajas and tamas. Rajasic, tamasic vasanas, they become the basis of raga, a constant dependence. You can sit on the chair, but you don't have to be dependent on it. Sit on the chair, but don't sing the praises of the chair. See, crude way of telling you. But as raga develops, you are also creating fear of different types, insecurity, fear. And your will becomes weakened, your patience dwindles, and anger dominates your mind. You think by anger you can resolve problems, but you don't. You create more problems. But all these move away when you have attained enlightenment. Or if you are moving these away, you are proceeding towards enlightenment. The qualities that are natural in a perfect person, those very qualities are the sadhana. They are to be developed by an aspirant. When you practice a quality with effort, then it will means to attaining liberation. When that quality becomes natural to you, effortlessly it comes within you, then you have attained perfection. Siddhi and sadhana, two words are significant. Sadhana is the means, siddhi is the goal. What's the difference between the means and the goal? You start practicing the goal, characteristics of the goal. As while you are practicing it, you are using your effort. When the practice becomes effortless, goal is reached. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-violence is the highest virtue. But therefore you won't practice each time. Hatred, anger come and go on reducing them or go on contradicting them and negating them, and bring love in your heart, and that's sadhana. But when you come to a state when your heart is overfull with love, the question of negating hatred doesn't arise. Then you have attained siddhi. And marvel of marvels, you have not seen no wonder all this time. People generally have the idea, if you attain samadhi, you will be seeing wonderful things. Angels will be flying before you, and you will be getting levitated, etc. Those are illusions. They are not the characteristics of perfection. Characteristics of perfection are very simple. Goodness within your heart, unobstructed, spontaneous. And with this, I conclude. Om Shanti.